welcome back to my channel, Lorena HD, and welcome to a new home, and welcome to Devin. Devin is a fellow herpes positive who decided to be public and open with her herpes diagnosis about 6 months ago, and she's here to tell her story. So, Devin, hi.
Hi. I was diagnosed about 2 years ago, almost, and I just decided to share that with people, like you said, 6 months ago. I have also started a meetup group for other people to come and talk to other people who are going through the same thing and know that they're not alone. I'm hosting a concert also in August called Live Out Loud to encourage people to share what they're going through with others so that they know that they're worthy of love and belonging. And then I am also starting to coach people who feel like they are like
all of these things. Like she decided to go public about 6 months ago, and now she's doing all these things.
Yeah, so I want other people to be able to feel like the peace and freedom that I've felt since I shared with people.
Why do you think overall, as you started being open, you probably realized how hard it is for people to talk about sex and sexual health? Like, what's your take on the reasons for that?
I think people feel ashamed when they are dealing with an STI like herpes. They feel like it, at least the way that I felt, was that it changed my identity, that it made me someone that I wasn't before. And that's really hard to open up to with somebody else. It's hard to be vulnerable in general with people, and then when it comes to something as intimate as sex, it makes it difficult. You feel like you're going to be judged, or that you are less worthy of love, which just simply isn't true.
Totally. What was the turning point for you when you decided to, fuck the stigma, fuck silence, like, I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to help people, reach the same point?
Right. I wish I could pinpoint like a moment where there's just a light bulb sort of like, oh, I should just do this and I think it will be different. There was a time when I had told only a few friends for like a year and a half. And then I told my family, and I had in my head created this like giant scenario of how terrible it was going to go and how they're going to disown me and X, Y, and Z.
And really good both.
And they were so loving and completely supportive and really like, I'm sorry that you had to go through this. I'm sorry that you felt like you couldn't tell us. And I think that moment was when I was like, okay, the people that love me the most are like, this is okay. So I can do anything. I can tell whomever and feel okay with the amount of support that I receive from the people who matter. And maybe through me sharing, I can encourage other people.
Okay, so you did it in step. You made sure first, like, your friends and family were aware and like supportive, and then what happened?
I wrote a post and shared it on Facebook.
And what was the response?
It was extremely positive, only positive. I didn't get any sort of like, oh my god, how could you possibly share that? Like, are you scared? Are you crazy? I didn't get any of that sort of stuff that I was like preparing myself for.
Right.
I got a lot of messages from people who were like, I have it too, you're so brave. And didn't even have to be herpes, it could be other STIs that people were like, I have this and I could never imagine sharing it with people. So it was really great, and I was like, this is awesome, like this is exactly why.
Why didn't I do it?
Why didn't I do this before?
Yeah.
Because then I wouldn't have felt so alone for so long.
Yeah.
And I've told, one of my friends, I was just walking down the street and I told her, and she turns to me and is like, shut up, I have it too. And like, I was so happy and excited.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird to think like, oh, somebody else has an STI, I'm happy about it. But like, there are so many people around you and you don't really know. And people feel that freedom and safety to share when you share.
Do you have any tips, something that you would recommend doing, not doing, for people who are considering doing the same thing?
I think what I would say is whatever you feel most comfortable with. So like for you and I, sharing on Facebook was what worked for us and what we wanted to do. I want people to know that there's no like right way to find your peace and freedom. If sharing with just your parents is all that you need in order to feel worthy of belonging and love and not feel ashamed, then share with just your parents. If there's just one human that you want to share with, if you want to like stand on a rooftop and shout it to the world, like whatever it is that works for you, like do what you feel.
We talked about landmark a little bit when I met you at the meetup. You talked about it as something that sort of helped you get to that point of feeling comfortable. Let's start with what's landmark for
So
people who are.
what is landmark? Like the way that I describe it is landmark is like a person personal development seminar.
Okay.
You can come and let's just say that you have areas of your life that aren't working as well as you want them to.
Mm-hmm.
So you go and they give you like different sort of tools and distinctions and ways to like look at things. So you can see them from ways that aren't just like black and white, good or bad, or those sorts of things. I went in wanting to figure out like, I'm not my herpes, how do I make this work for me? So I got up and I shared, and I started my share with like, so I have a medical thing that I'm dealing with, like very like, I don't exactly know if I want to spew this. And then the coach works with you while you're up there in front of everybody, and so she was like, what is it exactly that you're dealing with? And I just took a breath and was like, so I have herpes. And she worked me through everything, and it was like, I was really nervous, like I could feel my stomach and like my body shaking, and I'm holding the mic and just like, and then afterward people came up to me, it's a weekend long sort of thing, so people came up to me the entire weekend, and I had 2 people tell me that they also had it. One had had it for 13 years, and she's like, I haven't told anyone. Just by standing up there and sharing, and then having all of these strangers come up to me and say how proud they were of me, how difficult they knew that must have been, and how strong that I was like, oh. I felt so much lighter. I was like, I stood up there, I told 160-ish people, and I lived.
And I was supported.
Yeah.
I wasn't shamed. I wasn't,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about relationships, which
Yay.
is probably the one thing that, you know, every herpes positive is reluctant to. It's hard, or it feels like it's going to be hard to tell someone and to bring them to that point of like, look at me. Don't look at a herpes positive. Don't look at a virus. Don't look at me. How have your disclosure experiences been in the past?
So before my current relationship, I disclosed once. I was in a space at the disclosure that I wasn't accepting of myself, and so it was very much like, it took a very long time, and there was a lot of silence, and just like, I have to tell you something, and a lot of like hemming and hawing, like back and forth, right? And like, as opposed to the way that I, you know, would do it now, which is much more straight up and forward, where it's like, okay, I have herpes, and this is what it is, and this is how it affects me, and this is how it might affect you. We can do some research together, X, Y, and Z. And it didn't go very well. And I think a lot of that has to do with where I was about it.
Let's talk about your disclosure with your current partner.
Okay.
How different was that?
I was more self-accepting at the time of this disclosure than I was at the first. Not completely self-accepting, so there was still like hemming and hawing. It wasn't exactly as like as eloquent as I would have liked it to be.
It never is, to be honest, it never is.
And he'll tell you more about that. And then also he was just above and beyond as a great partner. So he was very supportive and loving and understanding and everything that I would have wanted in that moment of extreme vulnerability.
Did you prepare? Did you like run it by any friends beforehand? Or did you like, how did you get to the point of like, yeah, this is what I want to say and this is how I want to say it?
Right. I think I prepared alone, probably, in my head, which like in hindsight, I think I would have felt better about it if I had prepared with a friend or like someone outside of my own brain.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of like, okay, so I want to talk to you about something, just explaining like previous experiences and like, so I have herpes and that's why like we stopped the night before.
How long did you decide to wait until you disclosed it to him?
So I think that it was around 2 to 3 weeks before I told him. I'm not exactly sure. But we had fooled around a little bit. We had definitely kissed. And I knew, like, we just had a very strong connection from the beginning. So I knew that this was something that we both wanted. And I wanted to be able to get the truth out there, and so we could, like, make decisions going forward together.
Okay. What did you feel when it was a positive reaction?
I felt very loved and very safe, and very, it was like another sign of sorts that I was in the right place and with the right person, and knowing that he was supportive and loving and not judgmental or didn't freak out and wasn't angry, and not to say that any of those reactions are wrong or bad, but what he gave me was what I was looking for and what I needed.
So he did not have herpes.
No.
How did you guys manage the intimacy? Was like fear of transmission something that was on your mind all the time?
So we talked about it. We did some research. We used condoms a lot in the beginning, and by a lot I mean all the time.
Yeah.
And as our relationship like blossomed, and we talked about our commitment and what we saw for our future, we decided to stop using condoms and to take on that risk, which felt like the right decision.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know how scared I was about it.
Yeah.
But when it happened, when he got herpes as well, I did have an emotional reaction to that. It was, as opposed to it being like abstract, it was like a reality.
So what happened then?
Well, for me, I'm an emotional person. And so just in that moment of finding out that he had it too, it was very like, oh, this affected me. I remember how shitty I felt in the beginning, and now I have brought this on to this person. So it was just a very like emotional and visceral reaction. And then afterward it was like we made the decision together. We knew that this could happen, like very much logical and like thinking about what we had talked about before. So I had both reactions.
Okay, so my last question is if you could give an advice to yourself, to your younger self,
Yes.
What would it be?
Don't be so hard on yourself. And something about self-compassion. Because I think a lot of that is why I kept myself so constricted and restrained with this information.
Yeah.
Because I was not able to accept myself, and so the idea of somebody else accepting me was unfathomable. So I think if I was able to just be loving and be nice to myself and treat myself well, then I would be able to conquer anything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments below. I'll see you soon for another episode where we're going to talk to Devin and Michael.
Yay.
The phenomenal partner that we talked about earlier is going to be in the next episode. And that's it. Thanks
Great.
for watching. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Ciao.